to make that out to win, which we saw again for the goal. You know, knowing that Firmino, just look at Firmino again, trying to just drop, there he is into the space. That was a bit too firm played into him, but Watford have got the goal kick.
Maybe that got a little nick off Sissoko. From
83% possession for Liverpool in that first half, about as dominant as they could have hoped for in that first 45. Sadio Mane got them up and running with a special goal, his 100th in the Premier League, before Roberto Firmino capped an incisive move from close range. Klopp on top, much for Ranieri to reflect on at the break.
Pretty dull, overcast, cold January day for these two sides. A team with great fear in their hearts against one of the most exciting, talented young teams in Europe. Amateur, another play. Attempted the shot, that was a good save by Martin. It had to be. He's a veteran fullback with an eye for goal, clearly. Into his corner. Wendell, forced to Hughes, helped out by Radaby, unhelped in by Cashlul. Not the tiniest of goals, but they don't care how they scored at the Dell as long as they score. A fancy flick from Hassan Cashlul. Martin beaten, Southampton up. Highly. Oh, Cashlul stolen it in again. Lights his way through and forces a save. Oh my goodness, how did that not go in? He does! It's a goal for Southampton. They win the scrap again, and it's Scott Oakley. Southampton's second of the game. They're heading for their second successive home victory. Falling again with Radaby. It's been a good battle between the two. He's won it. He's played it back, and Ostenstadt scores. 3-0 Southampton. It's Ostenstadt the scorer, but James Beattie who takes all of the plaudits and celebration. And at the Dell, they've been well and truly beaten. Southampton are fighting back. Leeds have had a setback. Final score at the Dell is Southampton 3, Leeds United 0.
Nathan Redmond, and I'm about to play Fact or Fiction. That's true, I think I heard that somewhere before. Is that right?
It's actually fiction.
Is it? It's an urban myth, isn't it? What your parents used to tell you growing up. I believed it though. I was lied to my whole life. Is this an urban myth one again? I'll just say true. I'm just going to say true.
It's fiction.
That's what I'm saying. It's an urban myth. But I ate them when I was younger. I ate them because I went to see in the dark. It's one of those, isn't it, when you sit at dinner table and it's how you bury your carrot or, you know, you're going to be able to see in the dark. Everyone at the table started eating them quicker. Fiction?
Fact.
That is mental.
Why did you go fiction?
I just thought it would be blatantly obvious. I thought that was going to be a lie. Nah, that's a myth. That's a myth. You've got it or you ain't. It is what it is, isn't it? True.
Fact.
I'm learning some new stuff here today. I'm impressed with a few of these. I might have to remember that one. Fact?
That is true.
If you've got 8 legs, it's a lot of blood circulation there, isn't it? You're going to need a couple of bumpers. Probably true.
Fact.
They were left alone, I think that's why. They were left in peace, man.
We've just seen Liverpool's Sadio Mane become the latest member of the Premier League's 100 club. He got a century of goals at Vicarage Road. He's become only the third African to do so. There he is, 3 behind Mo Salah, 4 and the current leader in Didier Drogba. Some achievement, that, John.
They've been sensational. I mean, you talk about Salah and Mane, you know, even as African players, but just in terms of what they've given Liverpool in the last 4 or 5 years, and they've been sensational. And as you say, people will be surprised because it's all been about Salah in terms of the goals he scored, but Mane just 1 and 3 behind him.
Yeah, and those two were involved. Of course, it was Mane, but the assist from Mo Salah, how good was this?
But he's got the most goals for Liverpool, he's got the most assists, he's an incredible player, by far the best player in the division so far. This ball is just absolutely off the charts. Great awareness, the touch, everything about the precision, John, everything is just perfect.
And we wondered how Danny Rose would cope with him, and he's not been coping with him well. You know, playing a left side centre back, as you can see, he's not strong enough. He tries to get in front instead of just staying behind him. But once he turns here, you don't think he's just going to dribble because that's what he does. But the vision and the preciseness of that pass was incredible because you think he's got space in front of him. Dribble, that's what you normally do. But he had to play it early, had to play it with the right pace, and it was just a fantastic. I wouldn't say it's on a plate because he's got a lot of work to do, but it was a fantastic pass.
For Sadio Mane, Johnny on the spot in some respects. The way he finished that, what did you think? Did he take it as early as he was hoping for? Was it a slight miss kick involved there?
Listen, he bothered it in, but of course that normally happens. In fact, goalkeepers will say, "They strike it cleanly, then maybe I can save it."
Yeah.
But he did place it. He misses a lot of chances. If you look at the chances that he gets, his conversion rate isn't great, but he gets so many chances because of the way we play.
Yeah.
He'll always do things.
Mind you, the same said of Mo Salah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But if Kevin De Bruyne had played that pass, a lot of people would be no doubt waxing lyrical about it. But does he get the credit he deserves for passes like this?
No, I mean, because he shoots a lot, everybody says he's selfish. I don't think he is. I mean, he gets his head up. He knows exactly where Mane is. I mean, everything about that is honestly his top draw. I don't think he gets enough credit for his overall game. No, that ball is absolutely exquisite. We talk about his goal scoring, and rightly so, but that ball there was top class.
He's a team player. He makes the right decisions. They're trying to make this thing about he's jealous of Mane and Salah is the thing, but you know, because Jurgen Klopp won't have that. He won't have selfish players.
Yeah. As for the second goal from Roberto Firmino, Watford very much their worst own enemy here.
Yeah, they just made a mess of it. You know, trying to play that long diagonal against Messina, he kicks it, and in the end, it's just great execution. You know, from Liverpool there, Mane into James Milner and a tap in for Roberto Firmino. But we just see, you know, Watford, their shape was all over the place there. We see Craig Cathcart with Mane there. Ikong saying to Cathcart, the runner's coming in James Milner. You take him, basically trying to communicate. Obviously, Craig can't see him. You know, maybe he didn't hear him because of the stadium. Bit of a miscommunication. And that's what Liverpool do. One tiny little moment like that, they'll punish you if you make a mistake, and that's what happened.
But Watford have been their own worst enemy. When you play 3 at the back, and you are dominating possession, and you're 4 on the front foot, and you have 2 wing-backs getting forward, then that's fine. When you're not dominating possession, 3 at the back should be 5 at the back.
Yeah.
And they've been let the 3 centre-backs by themselves, and they haven't been able to cope.
17% possession to Watford.
Yeah.
The first home team this season in the Premier League not to have any kind of shot on goal in the first 45. What have you made of that 45 under Ranieri?
Well, the way they've set up in terms of we're not going to let Liverpool let them have all the possession. It doesn't matter if we've got 13% possession as long as it's 0-0. Yeah, and that's fine because I've been sitting here 0-0, 13% possession. We've been saying that's okay for them. But if you have 13% possession and you're not going to be progressive and you go 1-0 down, then you go 2-0 down, it's a disaster.
Well, if the plan was to try and keep things tight after the first 15 minutes, it didn't quite work to plan for Watford's latest manager. All smiles before kick-off, who's now got so much to contemplate going into the second half, which is on the way next.
It's the first league meeting of these Midland rivals in almost 20 years, and it finds them both in the bottom 3 of the Premiership. A win, a must for Villa and Wolves. On by Angel. Here's Barry. It's a good turn by Gareth Barry. Yes! Juan Pablo Angel! And Aston Villa lead their Midland rivals. Now McCann. He's onside here. It's Mark Delaney. Can he pull it back? He can! It's two for Angel! It's two for Aston Villa! And they're really in the driving seat to get out of the bottom three now. Cameron. Here's Alex Ray. And again, he's done it! Alex Ray has given them a lifeline at Villa Park. It's Delaney if he can provide. And he has done. Allbeck goes for it. Barry! Clinically finished off by Gareth Barry. And here's Kenny Miller. And he's played him in. It's Kennedy! It's 3-2! And it had been threatening to come, that goal. It has come. And the Wolves fans are delighted. Scored two to help Villa win it and lift them out of the bottom three. It was a valiant effort from the team at the bottom of the table. Wolves really made Villa sweat on this result. They've done enough in the end though. Villa 3, Wolves 2.
In the summer of 2003, Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich purchased Chelsea FC. The new-look squad is expected to bring success to West London.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselback, he's got that little room, and he's done it for Chelsea.
Well, at Manchester United, filling the boots of the departed David Beckham, there was a first league goal for a global superstar in the making.
Cristiano Ronaldo whipped in with pace and straight in.
Southampton were fourth by Christmas when they beat newly promoted Portsmouth in the Premier League's first ever South Coast derby. February marks a defining moment in the season. The Gunners coming from behind to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
They've done it again. Arsenal have come back from 1 down to lead against Chelsea.
Still unbeaten, Wenger's side also came from a losing position to overcome Liverpool 4-2 at Highbury. Thierry Henry, who would surpass us.
He's onside! Thierry Henry! Hat-trick hero!
Liverpool would eventually finish fourth, with Dietmar Hammann's goal against Portsmouth claiming goal of the season. Blackburn keeper Brad Friedel even got in on the act, scoring an unlikely goal at Charlton. The Addicts' impressive season tailed off, but still saw them claim 7th, their highest finish in the Premier League. Their battling 2-2 draw with Leicester resulted in the Foxes' relegation. Wolves joined Leicester, but the biggest surprise was the demise of Leeds United. Just 3 seasons after reaching the Champions League semi-final, they dropped to the 2nd tier. At arch-rivals Tottenham, Arsenal clinched the point they needed to regain the title.
It's Arsenal's title. Arsenal are the new Premier League champions.
26 wins, 12 draws, no losses. The Invincibles, the first and only Premier League side to go the season undefeated.
Not long till the second half of Vicarage Road, Watford find themselves 2-0 down at home to a thoroughly dominant Liverpool who had 83% possession in the first half. Tom Cleverley's on for Adam Messina. A change has been run by Claudio Ranieri. Back to your commentators, Jim Beglin and Peter Jordan.
An apology, because he knew he messed up, and then he kind of waited on the edge of his box before he had to kind of backpedal quickly. But yeah, not as greatest throw out, Peter.
Robertson. Firmino, delightful. Well read by Ngakia. Young full-back learning his game. Remember, he made his Premier League debut against Liverpool for West Ham a couple of seasons back and really impressed. Really impressed. January of 2020. It is Jean Pedro, and he has lifted it up and over, and he was, I think, offside in the end. This was tight. Yeah, the flag has gone up correctly.
They were still all getting off their seats behind the goal in hope.
There are some empty seats now. Premier League game time for the young Welshman Nico Williams for Liverpool. Any moment now. Oxlade Chamberlain, Simica again. Salah's dashing in again. Kritzker's boxed in again. That's a free kick.
Yeah, I mean, his arm was up and it looked as if his hand has maybe just caught Kutzka on the side of his face. Yeah, certainly pulled him on his shoulder. Yeah, as for the face, there's nothing in that, but it did look as if he took him slightly.
So here's the change. Milner withdrawn. Nico Williams, 20 years old, played in Wales's throwing 2-2 draw in the Czech Republic last Friday. In the Premier League for the first time since the last few moments of the win for Liverpool at Old Trafford in May.
Yeah. Still trying to get Sarr away with the Foster kick then. It's a really robust central midfield for Watford, but not necessarily the most inventive. There isn't a lot of imagination there. You get great work from them, Sissoko and Kutzka.
Truce goes long. Mendes wins the header. João Pedro pulled up by Henderson. João Pedro. Kelleher reacted, but there been some post in there as well. Flag was up, wouldn't have counted.
Yeah, I just wonder whether it was post and then back onto the outstretched arm of Kelleher, but Liverpool created that for themselves, got themselves in a muddle. And it was after the shot, Peter, then he was flagged offside. No, I think it's a touch onto the post, isn't it, from Kelleher? It's a very good save.
Firmino, off goes Mane, across comes Troost-Ekong. And there is Fabio Cannavaro. He really does look, Cannavaro, as if he could still play. When you see a famous footballing face in the Watford director's box, the first thought is that the next manager?
That's what I was alluding to earlier on, yeah.
They tend to offer hospitality a year or so in advance.
He was a Ballon d'Or winner, wasn't he?
Was it? Could well have been.
If I've got that wrong, maybe somebody will let me know fairly quickly, I guess, but...
Sarr. Sarr's crossed just too much for Cucho Hernandez. Kutzka might keep this in. Musa Sissoko. Found behind the goal, wants a shot. They might get one from Ismaila Sarr. Cleverly, Sissoko, that was tidy. Hernandez. Goes down by Nico Williams.
Yeah, well, maybe there is a little imagination in that midfield. That was a lovely little pick out from Sissoko.
Flags up again. Liverpool might wish John Moss had ignored it. Well, Jurgen Klopp, for all the logistical issues coming into this game in terms of selection, travel, COVID restrictions, players all over the world. The inconvenient, least liked early kick-off on a Saturday prior to a Champions League week has got the sweetest tune out of his orchestra here.
Well, whatever he says in front of a camera, I think it's a dressing room that doesn't tolerate excuses. They won't settle for that. And I think we've seen that. And I'm sure in Spain, in Madrid, Alisson and Fabinho are watching on and just enjoying a very, very good performance.
Nico Williams, Liverpool's third right back of the game. Keita. Firmino in search of his third goal of the game. Looks like Chamberlain. Sissoko cleverly hoisted out by Ngakia. Watford having a bit of a game over the course of the last 10 minutes. Since, in truth, the jeopardy went out of the game. Hernandez. Sarr for Ngakia. Ngakia's cross. Sarr's header. João Pedro can keep it alive. Could come down for Cucho. Hernandez, who can't get a shot away.
But it's pressure. It's hope. It's given the home crowd something to go at. It's consolation.
If one Watford player has enhanced his reputation today, it's probably this fella at right back, Ngakia, since coming on.
Well, considering Feminina keeps making way in the second half of games, why not just start with Ngakia? Let him see it through. Let him grow his game.
Jim, I suppose there would be fans all over the place saying, why didn't Watford start like this? And presumably the answer is because Liverpool didn't start like this.
Well, exactly. Liverpool were at it. And when Liverpool are at it, especially with all due respect to Watford and their status, they were always likely to be in some trouble.
Sissoko.
I think he's been Watford's best, Sissoko.
In a sense that Watford wants something out of this. Not that they're necessarily going to get him.
As soon as I say that, he goes.
Looks like Chamberlain, Salah. Ngakia, João Pedro. Sarr looking to bend his run. This would be borderline as well. Keller has come to meet it anyway, and out goes the flag. So, was that goal as good as the City goal?
I think the goal against Manchester City was better. But this isn't that far behind it. And he's just in that sublime mode at the moment, Mo Salah, where he can do this. And there are not too many in the world that can.
I'm about to say that Chamberlain. There will be those here in the majority, Watford supporters, who without question will go home saying, wow, we were lucky to see that. However, heavy their hearts. Just 1 minute to add on. Here's Nico Williams for Liverpool, and there's Firmino's hat-trick. 5 on the road. And a match ball for Bobby's collection. And the heaviest Premier League defeat that Claudio Ranieri has ever suffered.
Yeah, Watford forlorn, Liverpool flying. And just watch Firmino. I mean, it's never left his head the thought that he might just get a hat-trick. And again, it's pathetic from Danny Rose, I have to say. It's awful. He hasn't even put in a challenge to try and stop Nico Williams. And Nico Williams, I think, might have been taken on a shot. But he pulled it, and Firmino was able to benefit. And there you go.
And the game is is over, and that is the difference. That is how good the very good are. And Liverpool at Ranieri's expense have been today very, very good. Mane, Firmino, Salah brilliantly, and Firmino once more. Watford not a glove on the opposition. Watford 0, Liverpool 5.
Well, there's no doubt Liverpool's result at Vicarage Road was mirrored by their dominance across the 90 plus 1 minutes. They go top of the table as a result above Chelsea by 2 points for a few hours at least. So much positivity for Salah. Sadio Mane bring up 100 Premier League goals and a hat-trick for Roberto Firmino. For Claudio Ranieri, also one of your former sides, John, the worst possible start for his reign at Watford.
Yes, and of course they would have loved an easier game, obviously, because when no matter who you are, if you're struggling against Liverpool, they don't take the foot off the gas. They play with the right intensity as if they're playing against Manchester City. So it was always going to be a hard game, and obviously you've got to keep it as tight as you can. Get to half-time, we were 2-0 down then. They played better in the second half, but they still continued to lose.
Oh, and as good as Liverpool were Watford distinctly second best?
Oh, by a country mile. I mean, the first half was one of the most one-sided halves you've ever seen. So I thought Liverpool were exceptional. Watford obviously trying to find their feet under Ranieri, change the shape. They're a bit better second half, but they have a really, really long way to go. Watford, if they're going to play like that.
There's been so much talk about, particularly two of that front three of Liverpool, Sadio Mane, particularly Mo Salah. How good is it to see Roberto Firmino now pick up the headlines and the match ball?
I'm delighted for him because I have to say, yes, it's fairly obvious about the other two, but he's my favourite of the front three in terms of the unselfish work he does, not just for the team, which allows them to score goals. So if you look at them, and not only that, because now the three of them have scored, and people always talk about midfield players adding goals to it. This team is designed for the front three to score, so I'm so pleased for him. They'll lose confidence for one.
Who called him the most important player in that Liverpool 11 earlier? You've been proved right here, John.
Well, today, but I just think, even when he may not play as well as the other two and score goals, but the stuff he does on scene work, off the ball, getting in the position to allow them to take his position to score goals, he's such an unselfish player.
It's a thumping win then for Liverpool in match week 8. So we're up and running as far as the game week is concerned. There's still so much to look forward to, including a 5-game goal rush. You've got a West Midlands derby between Aston Villa and Wolves. Leicester City against Manchester United. Perhaps two managers with something to prove despite their contrasting starts to the season. That's our feature game during goal rush. Manchester City, the champions, up against Burnley. They've won that fixture 5-0.